Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good wherever you are. I'm your host, thatlitastrochick, the channel where we discuss the natal charts of writers, artists, and anyone else that I find interesting. So for the month of March, I'm going to honor my promise and discuss poets for this month for the natal chart readings. And I also want to discuss some viral news just because I just wanted to do a video very quickly on it. And that is about the incel podcast, Fresh and Fit. So they've been in the news recently because Walter Weeks, which is the legal name of Fresh, so Fresh is the shorter one. They've been in the news because it turns out that he's had a relationship with an Instagram model. Allegedly, this was a sugaring type of relationship, and she has become pregnant. And Fresh wants her to get rid of the child. I don't know if she's going to plan on keeping this child. And there has been some spillover with the tea surrounding this. And Myron, which is Fit, so the taller one, I'm going to try and be as respectful as I can with this. This is going to be hard. Has released a response to it where apparently he is spewing out his usual vitriol. And I thought it was funny and I wanted to come on here because I saw like a joke where somebody had said, why is Fit acting like Fresh had a baby on him? So I just decided to hurry up and pull up their charts per the birth dates that I have. And I do want to confirm that is because Fresh absolutely did have a baby on Fit. So I really do like doing Synastry readings that aren't specifically of the romantic variety. I know that I just did a Synastry reading on Sylvia Plath and Ted Hughes, and that's going to be up on the channel. But this one actually would be rather interesting to do because that's exactly what happened. So this is going to be the Synastry reading for the podcast duo Fresh and Fit. So for reference per the birth dates that I have, Myron Gaines, that is Fit, he was born on February 1st, 1990 in New Britain, Connecticut. And Walter Weeks, which is Fresh, was born on October 2nd, 1992 in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't have the times for either. So I just went ahead and I put together a placeholder to see what was just coming through with their chart as well as what happened. So the first thing that I noticed about their charts is that the both do have similar sun and moon signs. So those signs are both trining. So Myron is an Aquarius sun, and his sun is also conjunct to his north node as well as his midheaven, which is an Aquarius. So this is what has to do with him being an internet personality. This is what has to do with him and his very unconventional views that he has on women, as well as some of the allegations that have come up in the past, which is that Myron is actually into men. I would say that for this nodal axis, he most likely is supposed to be into men. The thing with the Leo Aquarius nodal axis is that it's one of the nodal axes that deals with sexuality. So Leo, because it tends to deal with a lot of intimate relationships, it's going to be one of the more sexual signs of the zodiac, whereas Aquarius, it's the planet of separations. So that means that on this nodal axis, there is a very high possibility that Myron could be gay. This is the reason as to why he is reacting as though Fresh had a baby on him, because Fresh basically did. Now, when it comes to Fresh's chart, I'm only going to talk about this part just individually. Fresh is a Sagittarius north node, and his moon is running, we'll say parallel, they're not quite conjunct. It's the same sign as Sagittarius. So in this particular lifetime, Walter, aka Fresh, is going to be in a lot of situations where he's going to be judged for his. So to have Gemini on the south means that he's most likely somebody who has come from a past where he's going to be lying a lot. And this time, what he's supposed to learn how to do is to be more honest. Now, that was the part that I wanted to talk about with their charts individually. If there is enough interest on the channel, I can always post an individual chart, but I did want to get into their synastry as to why I'm saying I really do believe that that does feel like Fresh just had a baby on him, and that's the reason why he's reacting that way. So I'm keeping all right. So then the first thing that I noticed about their chart is that Fresh's Chiron in Leo, that is conjunct to Myron's south node. I do wonder if these two could have had maybe like a past life connection together. But I would say that because Fit does have that Leo South Node, this can make him someone who can be very prideful. This also could deal with why he might feel like he can give out relationship advice in this manner. And I would say that with having this type of conjunction that's going on, there is a possibility, I would say a strong possibility, that Fresh could feel like he could be under Fit's control, or that is the hierarchy that wants to have. And that is what I've kind of seen on some of the clips that I've seen of their podcast, unfortunately, that I have been assaulted by. So that is one aspect that I did think was quite interesting when it comes to their synastry together. Another interesting aspect is that Fit's Venus, which is at the 21st degree of Capricorn, it squares Fresh's Mercury, which is at that 21st degree of Libra. So this to me would possibly say that I think that what Fit likes in Fresh is that he's able to control him. Venus in Capricorn is going to be very much considerate and astute, especially when it comes to his finances, when it comes to the wealth that he's able to build for himself, as well as maintaining some sort of status. And I think that he's able to lord over and to speak over on Myron when it comes to this, especially because his Venus and his Mercury, they are both conjunct in Capricorn. So the way that Fit is able to do this is that he can control Fresh, because Fresh is going to be far more focused on other people, because Libra is the sign of balance and it deals with other people. This can also represent the ways in which Fresh could be easily swayed by outside influences when it comes to the way that he thinks, as well as to the way that he speaks. Another interesting aspect that I would say for just individually for Fresh's chart is that his Mercury trines his Saturn. So I do think that he's actually a very, this would make like a very strong aspect for making money. The same thing I would say for Fit, because his Venus and his Saturn are conjunct in Capricorn. So this could produce somebody who could be very cheap. This also could produce somebody who could have a love for status in some ways, possibly producing like a sugaring type of relationship where he might be more open to paying for it, but I think he also might resent the fact that he has to pay for it. So that was an aspect that I did think was rather interesting. The next reason as to why I believe that that Myron wearing the pants in this one is because his Uranus, which is at the 7th degree of Capricorn, man, it has a lot of Capricorn energy. That is squaring Fresh's planet, Fresh's sun in Libra. So this would be another aspect to me that would say that when it comes to who has more control, or who maybe has more of like the bullying aspect, it's most likely going to be Fit. And when it comes to the sun also represents children, and Fresh has his sun at the 8th degree of Libra. So this is a doubling down, I would say, of that Capricorn energy, because the number 8 deals with Saturn. It deals with things that are going to be in our lives for a very long time. It also deals with authority, as well as being entered into systems like governmental systems. And I do believe that Fit was he did something with the feds before he started podcast. So I would say that this squaring his sun, this could have something to do with the outburst that he's got, even though it seems like every single time I see a viral clip from these doofuses, it's always like somebody having an explosion of some sort when it comes to complaints, like complaints about women. And it is most likely going to be Fit. And I say that because he has his Mars running in opposition to his Jupiter, which is in Cancer. And his Cancer Jupiter is also running parallel to his Chiron, which is also in Cancer. So if Fit just don't like women, I don't think that I really need a natal chart to see that. But it does come across as though he has a real strong bone to pick with women, especially with women specifically of his race. And I say that because a Capricorn and Cancer, they both deal with race. The other reason I say that is because he could have some very antiquated ideas around race and around women. And I've seen a few of their podcasts where they have kind of talked about that, or talked about how like, oh, you're not like other black women, or you're not like other women, or no darkies, or no night riders. That's where that definitely comes. So I think that Myron is more comfortable with being different, as well as being more controversial compared to Walter, which is Fresh. And I say that because individually speaking, Fresh has more positive aspects when it comes to his chart. So like his Mars and his Jupiter, those sextile each other. In addition to that, his Venus also sextiles his Jupiter as well. So that to me actually says that, as well as with that Libra sun, that Fresh is more concerned about what other people think of him. And I do think that there are most likely some things that he is hiding about himself. And I say that because he does have his sun squares his Uranus as well. So this would give him a personality that would be kind of quirky, that would be very different. But that also means that there are true parts of himself that he is hiding, that he doesn't want other people to know. And I do wonder, especially with his Cancer Mars running in opposition to his Neptune in Capricorn, if there could be some delusions that he has about women. I also would say that this could be a very strong aspect for misogyny, because he does have his Mars at that 10th degree of Cancer. You drop down the 0 and you get 1 that's represented energy by the sun. That's also Leo energy. And maybe he might convince himself that he's allowed to like what he likes. He is still to outbursts. I would say that because he has more harmonious aspects in his chart, he might care a little bit more about what people think about him. And I think that that's the reason as to why this is a scandal that we're all kind of laughing about a little bit. Another interesting thing that I see about Fresh's individual chart is that his sun squares his Mars in Cancer. So I would actually take this to mean that he could be somebody who could maybe envision himself as a ladies' man, or where he might be more invested in getting the good favors of women, more so than maybe what he wants to tell us about. And I think that he can actually appear to be a little bit more orderly and more structured, because his sun also it also trines with his Saturn, so this could make him a little bit more even-tempered. However, he might be lying to himself as far as the reasoning as to why these women are getting with him. So they, of course, are allowed to have all of their opinions about women, specifically black women. However, he might tell himself, well, I can have these opinions about blah, blah, blah. And the that I wanted to point out is that his sun also, yeah, I did say that it squares his Mars. However, he could have just a very negative aspect when it comes to his heritage. And that's something that's going to be very strong on his mind, because his Mercury also squares his Mars. So this to me actually just says that he might want a woman that he perceives as being beautiful, but it's afflicted as far as viewing women of his own race as beautiful. He does not see that at all. And he might try to convince himself that these other women actually really like him more than they do, because you do have that Mars that's running in opposition to his Neptune. But this is also another aspect that could point to him getting busted, and this being a really big scandal that we are all laughing at because we actually get to do this. Okay, another interesting aspect that I see is that Fresh's Saturn. Oh, I already talked about that. Okay, so then his Saturn and his Mercury, those square. That also to me says that Fresh is the one who, that Fit is the one who wears the pants in this Dusty trio. He runs stuff. Last aspect that I'll talk about maybe two more aspects. Okay, one more as far as like the negative, and that is that Myron's Jupiter squares Walter's Jupiter, and it's a dissociative square. So typically speaking, these would be signs that would sextile each other, but because of the degrees, they don't. And what's interesting is that with Myron having his Jupiter Cancer squaring Walter's Jupiter in Virgo, this to me says that when it comes to what they both kind of want in life as far as their approach and their adoptions for their philosophies, eventually they might part ways. This also could be an aspect in which Fresh is going to get his freedom in some way. And that I think actually would be interesting as to why Myron, I keep on him. Okay, why Fit might be so hell bent on complaining about this and arguing about this. I do think it's interesting though that Fresh actually was to be very helpful to Myron. And I say that because Fresh is Saturn and Aquarius. That is conjunct to Myron's North Node and Sun. So I do think that this was a relationship that was very beneficial to him. And I do see how this actually could have been very, very helpful for the both of them. So very quickly, I'll talk a little bit about some of the more positive ones. Let's see, Fitz. Is it his moon? Yes, is to Fitz Mars. So that to me goes to where that relationship, it could be mutual beneficial as well as being mutually hurtful. Fitz, let's see, his North Node, it's sextiling Fresh's moon. I don't know why these are so hard for me to say. So I would say that I'm just going to use their regular names. I'm sorry. Is that the way that the thinks it's most likely been very helpful for Myron, probably provided him with some sort of comfort and security, as well as being very, very much like a stabilizing force. The last one that I'll discuss is that Myron's Pluto, it sextiles Walter's midheaven. This could show the support that he's going to get, especially when it's going to come to the work that that Walter's going to do later on. I'm not quite sure these two will point ways. I really do feel like a lot of who they are, it's very much centered around them being the He-Man Peter Club. These are two guys who don't like women. I think that they like putting their private into women's private parts, but I would say especially because Myron does have that Aquarius North Node. I don't think that women are his first choice. I really do think that this is I'm upset that that other men won't let me love men in peace. So I have to take this out on women. That's really what I think is going on. I really do think that Fresh was Fitz woman. I don't think that because a lot of what they're doing, it's much more centered around, I would say, being more of like a romantic relationship. And I think that Walter actually maybe has the propensity to be a little bit more likable. We're still not to actually focus on liking them because Walter's North Node is in that Sagittarius. That's what I got. I didn't want this one to be too long. So if you're looking for a natal chart, please check out my information down at the bottom. It is thatlitastrochick@gmail.com, and you can reach out to me for my rates. This now concludes my Synastry reading of Fresh and Fit. Please make sure to thumbs up and subscribe, and tune in for the next video.